Welcome friends, I'm Will Whitfield with W3 Productions. Today I want to do an update video on using the DAZ importer for Blender. This will be the DAZ importer version 1.4 and we will be importing a model into Blender 2.8. And I just want to kind of consolidate some of the lessons learned I had in previous videos so we can go through the basic steps of installing the DAZ importer add-ons in DAZ Studio using version 4.11 I believe, and also installing the plugin to Blender 3D as well. So let's go ahead and get started. You can get all the instructions and the files for the DAZ importer at diffeomorphicblogspot.com. And this is created by Thomas Larson. And if you have any issues, I believe there is a Bitbucket site you can go to. So I'm just going to right click on this development version link, and it takes you to the Bitbucket where you can also get the development version of the plugin. So you would just download that repository, but there's also a button here or a link here for issues. So if you have issues, you can create a new issue here. I think you got to make an account and then put here, and that's probably the best way to get responses to issues and bugs with the plugin. Then anyways, you can get the two files you need, or two zip files. First part you need is the DAZ importer plugin for Blender itself. So you can download it from this link right here. And go to your downloads directory, and what you would do is you go to Blender, you would go to Edit, Preferences, then you would install from zip. You look for your file, go to My Downloads, and it will be something along the lines of, I got a lot going on here, diffeomorphic import. And you get the version, find out what version you downloaded, the file name, and you click on that, and you install from add-on from file. When you do that, you would have the latest one be included in the list. Now, it doesn't erase old plugins, so what you would have to do is make sure that the version number matches the one you just downloaded. Enable that one and uncheck the ones that are old. I guess if you wanted to, for cleanup purposes, you could go ahead and hit the remove button, and that would get rid of old plugins. Anyways, my default is to always auto save preferences, so if you don't do that, make sure you go ahead and hit save preferences. And if you hit the N key, the properties, you will see a new tab for DAZ runtime. You click on that, and the first thing I'm going to do right now is just go to settings and click on DAZ, path to DAZ library. And what you want are make sure you have the right paths for your content on DAZ Studio, because basically what you do when you import is just making references or pointers to your actual your DAZ library content. So you're going to need at least these three. This last one's for your IRA shaders, and then the other two for your content. And this somewhere along the lines of these paths. This is a Windows 10 machine. It may be different for if you're using Mac OS, or I'm not even sure this works on Linux, but if you're using Linux, it'll be a different path setup. So this is also a log file for errors, so take note of that. If you ever have any issues importing something, there might be some helpful hints in the error log file. And if these are wrong, when you hit import DAZ file, it'll error out. So you have to make sure, that's why it's critical to make sure that these are set correctly. Alright, the next part we need to do to set up is go to DAZ Studio, and we need to create basically a new function in DAZ Studio to import JSON data, because you're going to be importing a DUF file, but it doesn't have all the information needed for Blender. So the way they developed it is you also have to export some data in a JSON file. So to do that, I already have mine set up, but I want to go through it just to show you how it's done. You go to Window, you go to Workspace, you will then go to Customize, and you want to expand or click on Custom. You want to create a new custom. Delete this. I'm going to do it again. Delete that custom action. You want to create a new custom action. So create new custom action. What you would want to call it, you can call it anything you want. The instructions say call it export basic data. I already have one, so for this tutorial only, I'm going to call it something different. Export JSON data. And then, if you want to, you can create a description. Then you want to click on this icon right here with the 3 dots, and that's going to take you to open prompt one. Excuse me. Find file prompt. And what that's looking for is this export basic data DSA file, and you get that when you download the other part. So I believe you get that from the repository. And when you download that file from the repository, I know I'm kind of jumping around here, but because I already had it downloaded, you're going to end up with a window or a folder that will be called diffeomorphic import DAZ. You unzip that, and that should have a 2 DAZ Studio folder, and it has that export data file, and that's the file you want to point to in that prompt. So you select that, open it, and then you go ahead and hit accept. And now you go to the menus tab on the right hand pane, and then open. You can put this button anywhere you want, but they recommend doing it on the file menu. So you're going to go to main menu bar, then open file, and then drag it where you want it to be in that menu. So I'll just put it under the import export area, so I'll just drag it here right near my old button, then hit apply, and accept. And now I already have a character here that I want to export to Blender. It is pretty much ready to go. It is based off the Genesis 2 female model. There's a character with a wedding dress on. So now I want to save that character, just like I would anything else in DAZ Studio. My first time working with it, so I will hit, go find my characters directory. I'm gonna call this one wedding. Save that file. Doesn't take long. Then the next step I need to do is go to File. Usually I just hit you'll be hitting the Export Basic Data button. I just did it a second time and called it something different, so I'm gonna hit this Export JSON Data. Now, very important, you want to co-locate those 2 files. So save it in the same directory, and you want to call it the same thing. So I'm gonna call it wedding as well. And usually when you start typing, you see the name of file that you did before if you're in the same directory with .duf at the end. So that helps you know that you're calling it the right thing. Hit save. Wait a few moments, and it should give you a message that says it exported a file. Yes, that your JSON file has been saved and tells you the location. Now we shouldn't need DAZ Studio anymore, so I'm going to close that. Let's go to Blender. We're going to start off here by deleting the default cube. Let's go back to the DAZ runtime. Just hit import DAZ file. Let's go to the location of my character. You can click on either button, or either icon, the DUF file itself or the PNG, which is basically a thumbnail picture. It will import it all the same. So I'm stuck that. Going down here briefly to the import settings, you can change the scale of the character when you import it. I forget the default. It might be a default of 1, but for the scenes that I was doing, I end up needing a scale of 0.01. And so that's my default. For mesh fitting, I usually leave it at JSON file. I have no reason to change it. Skin color and clothes color is basically the shading that's going to give the character when you're in solid view. This is not the color of your clothes in rendered view, but just reference colors for when you're working in solid view. So with that being said, I'm going to hit import DAZ file, and it may take a few moments to import. So here we have our character. It's been imported. Again, that the reference colors are just reporting according to what type of mesh it is. I'll go ahead and just briefly show you what it looks like in rendered view from a default, and then we'll go ahead and go through these options here on the right and see what they do. Alright, I went ahead and went to the what's it called again? The look dev instead of going fully to rendered view, just for to save some resources. And it took a while for the shaders to compile, and that's what took me a while. And here's our character, and for most part the shaders look okay. I don't particularly care for all the glossiness of the skin, but we could probably adjust that later. And the hair color is a little weird, but it might have been a material that I applied in DAZ Studio. Usually I don't have a problem with the hair color, so that's a weird incident. Anyway, going back to solid view, you can see that when you import a new character using the importer, it creates its own collection, so that's very good for organization's sake. But you'll also notice that each material clothing or each material object has its own armature. So let's say I select the slippers. It has its own armature that's highlighted, and if I hit G, it will move separately. However, if I move the character, Genesis 2 female, some of the clothing does not follow it, and that's because they are not parented to the bodies mesh. So there's a way we can do that, and that's in the first tab right here, the first menu called corrections. So you open up or check corrections. You have a couple of things you can do here. You can merge toes. If you don't plan on moving individual toes, you can merge them into one, which I usually don't bother, but I'll do it for the sake of this tutorial. And you see those bones are now gone from that mesh, from that armature. The adding extra face bones kind of gives you more facial bones for all the morphs or shape keys that can go on in the face. So I usually make go ahead and do that. That's not apparent in what goes on, but you can open up another bone layer and see what's going on with that. So I'll get back to that in a moment. I want to go ahead and do the merge rigs part. So you will want to first select all the other armatures, then select the one for the body. So I'm going to hold shift and select each one here, then select the one for the body, and then click on merge rigs. Now we see in our outliner that most of them went ahead and merged into one, but if we dig down deeper, there are some couple more objects that have their own rigs, like the hair. I'm gonna do the same thing here. Hold shift, select all those, then hit the body armature one more time and hit merge rigs. So you can do each one at a time, or you can do them all at once. So if we move the body, all the clothing moves with it. So that's enough for corrections. Materials. You can change the color of the shading in solid view. That's all that's about. You can do different things with UVs. I'm not going to get into that. You can save the textures after you've edited them locally. Morphs, something I use more often. Update morph paths. You can import the morphs from like smiling, the visings, different facial gestures. You can do that here. So you update morph paths to show you what's available. And these buttons will actually load those into the character. If you want to see what they are before you do it, you can hit show units and it'll show you all the ones that you have available to manipulate after you hit the load button. So you can see mouth open, frown, close, lips, eyes, all that. That's just under this first one for face units. Then you have expressions, concentrate, happiness, sad, things like that. Advising all your mouth shapes when you speak. Then you have also one for correctives, which I guess you have to do that yourself to load those. So you hit each one of these. They take a few moments to load, so just be aware of that. So we're back after loading the face units, the expressions, and the vibe zooms. They took about a minute each to do. And if you scroll down this tool, you'll see them at the bottom. So let's zoom in a little bit better on the character. And let's open up each one of these so you can see face units. They're basically all sliders. So no, that was a bad one because it was moving the brows, but it's a very faint expression. So let's find a better one. Eye squint. That's the left eye. I want to give this a little bit more room so you can see the full title. Moving the jaw. You can keyframe each one of those as you desire. Let's go over quickly the expressions. You can, of course, combine all these because they're all sliders. They're not mutually exclusive. Full face smile, sad, pain, glare. And then vising, so if you want to get sound, S sound. So you could do that if you want to do some manual lip syncing. I did want to note, you might have noticed in this particular model, the body's kind of poking through the skirt mesh, and that's just an issue I had in DAZ Studio with that particular clothing, that's not an issue with the DAZ importer or Blender. So that's just a bad example I use for a character mesh. Moving right along, let's go through the menu. So finishing, you can optimize pose for IK versus FK. You can say this, hey, apply this pose as my rest pose. You can also convert the skeleton or this armature to the MHX, which was the Make Human armature. That may not be as relevant today as it may have been a few years ago, but some people will like to use Make Human, and this may be the option that you need. And convert to Rigify and create a meta rig. So I do have used the convert to Rigify, and that will give you a Rigify armature. So that is an option. I'm not going to do it here for the tutorial, but let you know that that is available. Advanced setup, you can create low poly versions of your mesh. You can make certain parts of it visible. Mesh. Fingerprint. Not sure what the fingerprint thing does. Of course, you can always go back to this website to get more details on what each thing does. Rigging. You can actually take your current rig. So this is a Genesis 2 female. You can convert it to another rig if you had a reason to do so. So any other Genesis rig, it will attempt to do so. It's not guaranteed to work, but it will give it a good try. You could also do a CMU, I believe that's the Carnegie Mellon University rig. I guess if you want to apply those BVH or BVH files for the motion capture files, I guess you can try to do that by choosing this. You can copy bones and copy poses, use mannequins, and create goals for IK target like RK inverse kinematic targets. Let's see what else we got here. Just trying to give a brief overview instead of going into each one. So you got drivers for the morphs. You can edit and adjust. Hair, you can actually do the cycles hair versus having a hair mesh. I say I deleted this and I want to start from here using the hair system, particle system that you have available in Blender. You can start that right here. Going back to settings, you can save your settings. If you have particular defaults like to use every time, you can save that or load that here. Again, the path to the libraries that you're going to need, make sure you definitely fill those out. General, I guess those are the prop limits for like sliders and things. You can change it from -1 to 1. Different hidden features. I'm not sure what that does exactly. Whether you limit things to the DAZ property limits or you want to go beyond them. Rigging, adding face drivers. You want bones to be connected. Their rotation limit locks. You can delete your meta rig. Materials. How you want to treat your materials when you import. So my default I want to use is what's compatible with Eevee. You can also just do the BSDF or the Principled Shader. I believe some of these options used to be actually at the import menu when you selected your file, and they just moved it to here. Yeah, a lot of these look familiar as far as what the old version of the importer in 1.3. This looks like if you're using Blender render, but that's not available here in Blender 2.8, so that's kind of OBE. Utilities, I haven't got too much into that. I guess that's more into the metadata part of the DUF files. If you this is a newer option here. If you have an add-on you want to add to the importer add-on yourself, you have new functionality you want to add, you can write that and you can use this to help you set that up. Posing, this is where you can take the pose files that are available in DAZ Studio and import them into your character to repose your character. So those are for all the still, not animated but still poses. And like I said, if you hold the tooltip over it, you see you want DUF file or DSF files. When you do pose library, I guess you can bring in the whole library of poses. And import action, you basically can import a sequence of poses. So you have somebody, maybe they're sitting down, and the next pose they stand up, and the next pose they take a step forward. That's not frame by frame, those are just still one pose at a time. So if you want to do that, you can do that. There's supposed to be a way where you could actually import an animated pose, one that has motion in it, and using the import action button, but I hadn't figured out how to get that working smoothly. So if I do, I'll make another video following up on this one. And you can, I guess, save the current frame, whatever pose it's in. And that's about it. These we've already gone through with the face units changing and the expressions and visings. So those are the basics of the DAZ importer. Let's go ahead and take another look at the materials. Just want to make sure that they came out correctly, especially with things using the alpha transparency. So one moment. Yeah, I just didn't notice last time whether or not the eyes use alpha transparency like they need to, and the eyelashes and the hair, and they all do. Again, not really happy about the hair color, but it's probably something I chose in DAZ Studio. Also, this had a lot of alpha transparency in it. This glove material, so all that came out pretty well. So we can actually take this armature and go to pose mode, and doing RY. Use that you can manipulate the character. Of course, there's some mesh rigging issues. That might be more with my actual character than the importer as a whole. So again, don't put too much weight into that. And that should be about it that we have for today. I might do a follow-up on using like Rigify or something like that. As far as using your character. But this is the DAZ Importer 1.4. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. Consider subscribing so you can get first dibs on the newest videos. I'd like to thank our Patreon sponsors that help make videos like this possible. Considering going to our Patreon page and becoming a patron yourself. Link is in the description below. Thank you. Have a blessed day.